the two things that the Republicans are attempting to do right now, which was an initiative application and a referendum petition, which are sort of similar but not the same.
Right.
Going back to Proposition 4, which was the 2018 ballot initiative, where Utah voters voted to create an independent redistricting commission to make recommendations to the legislature. Of course, things didn't turn out the way some people wanted. Lawsuits were filed, and we're still in the middle of a lawsuit that includes an evidentiary hearing here coming up very quickly for a judge to hear from both sides, from all sides, and try to come up with a map for the 2026 legislative election.
Right. So one of the things that's happening, right, is all these things are happening simultaneously. Is now we have this new effort by members of the Utah Republican Party who are trying to basically overturn the Citizens Initiative and undo the map. So we have joining us today Elizabeth Rasmussen. She's the executive director of Better Boundaries, one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. And Elizabeth, what is happening?
Really great question. We're asking the same thing, but it seems like in redistricting, anything can happen, and we're a little concerned about the Utah GOP's efforts to undo the will of the people right now.
So one of those things that they're doing to try to undo the will of the people is to get to the people again with another initiative, and they made an application yesterday with the Lieutenant Governor's office to actually get the steps going toward another initiative. It seems to me, Elizabeth, that given the weight of public sentiment, this may not go as well as they think, because I think that the majority of Utahns still feel like they should have some input in districting.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we're hearing as well. And really, when you take party labels off of everything that's happening, what is happening is a group of people in power are deciding to ignore a large number of Utahns who already spoke through the ballot box through an initiative that won't go to the ballot box. It will go to the legislature instead. And so that's the nuance here that is really problematic for us and something we're trying to call out.
So what is your response officially as you heard this news yesterday?
I was pretty disappointed, and I'm feeling a lot of just anger and sadness among people on the ground. I mean, we're a grassroots organization. We ran a ballot initiative in 2018. We went through the ballot box, got a majority of Utahns, 500,000, and seeing that they are finding a way to subvert the will of the people by gathering far fewer number of signatures and then going to the legislature, who has been very clear from the beginning they don't want Prop 4, is a problem. And all we want is for Utahns to be represented. And we just don't understand why they can't just respect the people who elected them in the first place.
And it seems, Elizabeth, like whether it's the Republicans or the legislature or maybe some combination are really coming at this now from four different angles. One is this new initiative that they want to put a ballot initiative on the 2026 ballot. This referendum petition to do away with the map that was proposed the last week, I think, and I may get these wrong. They're also still contesting what the judge is doing in her hearing coming up, and they're still arguing at the Supreme Court. So there are maybe four different options here, and that's such a moving target for you all. I don't know how you're able to sort of respond to all of this.
I mean, it comes with a lot of lack of sleep on my end, that's for sure. But we have a great legal team who's working really hard on this. We have great plaintiffs in the case who are also on the ground doing a lot of great work. And we're trying our best to make sure this law is implemented. That's our one and only goal. And so whatever we have to do to make sure that happens, we're ready for the challenge.
Elizabeth, can you tell our listeners the difference between initiative and referendum and why the GOP is trying both tracks?
Yes, definitely. So for the initiative, this is an indirect initiative, which instead of requiring 140-ish thousand signatures across 26 out of the 29 site districts, it only requires about 70,000-ish signatures across those districts. And then it goes to the legislature in the next general session to vote yes or no on. The referendum is to call back a law or something that the legislature has passed. I mean, we saw that earlier this year with the effort with Utah, Protect Utah Workers. They're doing it with MAP-C. The legislature has passed MAP-C, but what's interesting is that's not law yet. It's not adopted. It's just submitted to the court. So I guess they're anticipating it will be accepted by the court, even though they haven't decided on which map will be implemented. And if that's the case and the referendum is successful, they'll say we don't want map C, and we kind of have to go back to the drawing board. And so really anything could happen. But the timeline for the referendum is much longer. Like you said, it will be on the 2026 ballot if they gather the signatures, whereas this indirect initiative, they have to gather the signatures by November 15th. And then it will be, if they're successful there, it will be considered in the session that starts in January.
So at the evidentiary hearings coming up on this, Elizabeth, it's not a foregone conclusion necessarily that the judge will be asked to either accept or reject map C. There are other proposals in front of her, and I believe, and there's going to be an evidentiary hearing where experts will come in from both sides and say, here's why this map either fails in light of the court's ruling and the four corners of Proposition 4, or here's why it passes. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct. Hearing should be next week. That's what the judge has tentatively said for the schedule ahead of the November 10th deadline to select a map. And right now they're considering 3 maps. 2 are from the plaintiffs and 1 is from the legislature, map C, which is what this referendum is all about.
So it really is a moving target. So are we safe in assuming that there will be a new map for the 2026 congressional election cycle?
As far as what we're seeing, the lieutenant governor's office has been pretty clear that a map needs to be in place by November. I mean, the deadline used to be November 1st. Now it's November 10th for elections to actually go forward. I mean, we need candidate filings. We need all this.
Right.
But there's also this unknown because we're seeing so many unprecedented things right now. So at this time, it's hard to say with 100% certainty what will happen next year because we just keep seeing new things pop up every day. Like you said, it's a moving target.
And this had to be, I don't know, was this even expected what happened yesterday with the initiative and the referendum applications, or is this one of those nothing surprises us anymore?
I was surprised still. I mean, we heard about it yesterday afternoon, and we thought we only had 3 things we had to work on. Now we have this 4th outlier to protect what Utahns voted for. And so that's why we can't say anything certain right now because these things keep popping up and we keep learning new things about this whole process.
So one final question in our last minute. Some of the arguments I've seen being made for this new initiative process to overturn Prop 4 is that the members of the public didn't really know what they were voting for. What's your response to that?
I think that is very disrespectful to voters. I trust voters a little bit more, and I can say that as a voter who voted for Prop 4. I was an undergraduate student at BYU at the time. I had learned about partisan gerrymandering. I'd seen it, and I signed it because I believed in this. And so many of our supporters, our grassroots supporters, knew exactly what they were signing. And they have been in this fight with us for 7 years to get it implemented. So to say that they didn't understand it is a huge disservice and honestly very disrespectful to voters. And I just hope the GOP and the GOP party leaders in the legislature would have more respect for voters than that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was Elizabeth Rasmussen, Executive Director of Better Boundaries. And it gives you some idea, Holly, of how long this has been going. She was an undergraduate student at BYU right. At the time. Now she's the Executive Director of Better Boundaries. Yeah. It has been, 7 years since the 2018 election where this was passed.
We have with us on the line Rob Axson. He's the chairman of the Utah GOP, and he also is one of the people who signed on to this indirect initiative process and the referendum. Rob, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Always good to be with you guys.
So can you tell us why are you pushing forward this indirect initiative, and why is it different than an initiative?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons. First and foremost, as to why I feel compelled to do this, and so many other Utahns do as well, is you look at what our country's founding was based on, and that was the principles of a constitutional republic, not a direct democracy. And you come to Utah. Utah as a state was established reaffirming those same principles. And this move away from representative government will be to our long-term detriment. And the decisions made by the court and what they've done, they have every right to put forward their opinions, but we also, as the sovereigns, the citizens of Utah, have every right to object, and we are doing it through the legal process of providing Utahns the opportunity to object and say that they see things differently and would like a return to constitutional Republican principles rather than the elements and principles of that are more akin to a direct democracy.
So, Robert, can you get us up to speed on what exactly happened yesterday, what was filed, by whom, and what the next steps are with respect to those? Because we're sort of talking about two different filings, I think, an initiative application and a referendum petition. Maybe you can talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Utah's Constitution and in the code, we have the opportunity to do citizen initiatives. The state Supreme Court last year gave preference to citizen initiatives over actions taken by the legislature. That was their ruling last year. That was the ruling that Judge Gibson then relied on in her recent court decisions pertaining to the Proposition 4 question. So citizen initiatives are paramount here in Utah. We have two ways to do that. You can do a citizen initiative that then is ratified after the fact through the ballot box, or you also have an opportunity to have a citizen's initiative that is ratified through legislative action. And that's the path that we are taking, is to send it to the people of Utah to consider, to sign their name onto. And then the ratification would be through their elected representatives in the state legislature. So that's the initiative, and that effort is to repeal the language in code established by Proposition 4. It's a belief that limiting the constitutional role and authority of the legislature is inappropriate, and we want to re-empower the transparent and fair process as established in our Constitution that goes through elected officials who are accountable to us at the ballot box. That second filing that we did yesterday was, as you mentioned, it was a referendum petition, and it's an opportunity for us to object to the process that the legislature was compelled to abide by last week. And they were forced to come up with a number of maps. They picked one map among those in compliance with the judge's orders. We encouraged them to pick map C. We felt that was best for the people of Utah among the options of the maps, but that doesn't mean we agreed with the process. So this referendum is to express to the public, to the legislature, and most importantly to the courts and others that are looking at this, that we have some deep concerns with the separation of powers being blurred here, of the courts weighing in and compelling our elected officials in the legislature.
So, Rob, let me ask you another clarifying question. If you get the signatures, which you only need half of what's required for a regular citizens initiative, is that correct? You need 70,000?
Yeah, you need 4% in a citizen initiative that then is ratified through the legislature, rather than 8% of registered voters if you go to the ballot box. And I'll tell you the reason we decided on that was mainly it's an element of the timing that we've been compelled to abide by with Judge Gibson's ruling. There's no reason that the state Supreme Court could not have found their decision faster than the nearly 7 years it took them, and there's no reason that Judge Gibson had to wait until the tail end of really the time frame to really do anything about this. She could have provided her ruling earlier in the year in the spring, which would have left a different shot clock for everybody to abide by.
So again, just another follow-up. So if you get these signatures, it goes to the legislature in the January legislative session. You've got the votes there to overturn Proposition 4, strip that language out of the code. Does the referendum then become moot?
That certainly would be a compelling argument, and that's one for the courts to decide and the process to decide. But ultimately, there's a lot of debate around what the code says and what the law says. If the law is no more, it's an interesting question as to whether or not we need that debate. The people of Utah 7 years ago had a 50-50 decision on an issue that they weren't all that aware of. It wasn't talked about. It was to the degree that it should have been. But this was in a ballot cycle where we had medical marijuana on the ballot. We had Medicaid expansion, a number of other initiatives. This was one of those. You had $2.8 million spent promoting this. You had $0 spent opposing it, and it literally was about a 50-50 issue. I think there was a 0.62% vote spread between this. So anybody who claims that the people of Utah have strongly spoken in one way or the other is mistaken. So we're giving the people of Utah an opportunity to weigh in again and see where they want to land on this issue.
But the weighing in is signing a petition, but ultimately the citizens won't vote on this, correct? Like they did in 2018.
Yeah, they won't vote on this, but assuming that is a negative, frankly, it gives away all of the elements that we benefit as Americans and as Utahns of living in representative government, living within a constitutional republic, having elected officials who live near us, who are accountable to us, who their kids may go to our kids' school. We may see them at the grocery store. These are people that represent literally just our neighborhoods, our local communities, maybe a couple of counties in some of these rural locations. They are available and accountable to us in a citizen legislature. That's something that we shouldn't be apologizing for. It's something that certainly is not a detriment. This is a benefit that has made the United States the best country and the most free country that creates all of our opportunities. So, yes, this doesn't go to the ballot directly for ratification, but it goes to the people accountable to the voters. That's a process that I'm proud of and I want to continue to protect.
Thanks for joining us. That was Rob Axson, chairman of the Utah GOP. So
Did make a lot of sense. I mean, I like the way he explained it.
It's interesting, and I think it's really messy, honestly. I think it's really messy, and it becomes confusing, and that becomes problematic sometimes too.
And almost likely to invite another lawsuit.
I think for sure. I think you can count on that.